Hi, welcome to our 200th edition of Blues Talk,
It'll never last.
where John, Dave and myself are going to review all the Pro 12 fixtures from last weekend. Look forward to the first rounds of the Champions Cup, including Leinster's game against Wasps in the RDS. So boys, start off with our game against the Scarlets. Good win, brought us up into the fourth position in the league.
Yeah, it's great to get.
Win was good. I'm not entirely sure about the performance.
No.
The performance was certainly a mixed bag, but the win itself was good because by dint of their own efforts, Scarlets were top of the league, and we beat them, and we took what we wanted out of the game. I mean, we got through the game with only one injury, which I think was a good thing, because it could have been a lot worse. It's really hard to say. I mean, to a certain extent, we just have to be satisfied with the result.
We made 15 changes to the starting 15.
I was about to say it was a roll of the dice by Leo Cullen. A, making 15 changes. B, some of the changes he did make and some of the guys he trusted, which, fair enough, it worked out. But if it had been 3 points the other way, we might be here saying, stupid bloody Leo Cullen, why did he do, So, he's, I wouldn't say he's got away with it, but it's paid off for him, we put it that way. There were a few decent performances from Leinster and a few not so decent.
A few who ticked both boxes.
A few who mixed the good with the bad, isn't that what they say? But job done, win. Performances, I suppose work-ons. There's definitely work-ons there for various players.
But the thing is, though, like they've integrated all the World Cup players back in now.
Well, they've all got
a game.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they have to learn, like forwards have to learn line-out calls, backs have to learn moves, or re-familiarise themselves.
Jamie Heaslip and John O'Brien have to learn what a breakdown is.
There was a bit of ruck inspecting there now, was there?
A little bit. But anyway. And also their back row was awesome. Jonathan Davis' young brother, and the other lad, the other 7, Barkley.
Barkley's a class act.
And I like Shingler as well. He's a very good player actually. So I think that's a fairly, and it's a settled back row as well. It's played in a lot of their games, so it was always going to be a bit of an ask trying to integrate guys back like that. But you would expect.
I think it showed good character within the team. I mean, we got a bit of a disastrous start when we down 15-9 at half time.
Yeah. And
they managed to pull it back. Now I think Scarlets helped us because they were very indisciplined.
Johnny Sexton helped us. Let's face
it.
He didn't have a brilliant game, but he
but you could see
it was in control.
Intensity.
Yeah, he takes the pace of a game up. And, even if he doesn't play brilliantly, he takes the pace up to a level where, average players can't survive. They just can't cope. I mean, to a certain extent, even our own average players, Reid got caught blocking, whereas a wiser head like a Darcy or O'Driscoll gets away with that because they know what they're doing, whereas Reid really didn't. It was obviously stepped into the guy's way. But
some referees will catch it and others won't. These things happen.
I think it was the TMO that caught it, wasn't it?
The TMO is always going to catch that nowadays, especially if it's so blatantly obvious. I mean, if you make it look smooth the way that Darcy did, or the way that O'Driscoll did, or the way an experienced player does. But if you actually deviate your direction.
Well, the laws have changed, or the emphasis has changed slightly as well in the last few years from when Leinster were in their pomp running all those type of plays with guys, blockers effectively, which you can't get away with anymore, and especially with a TMO. As long as there's a sniff of a try, they're always going to go back and look at that type of stuff. So
the guideline that was always given to referees was there's nothing in the laws that says that a player has to get out of another player's way. The law is you can't get into his way.
Yeah.
And that's the mistake Reid made. I mean, it's over and done. He'll know for the next time. I mean, it's the first time we pretty much run that move since Johnny came back. So, I mean, to a certain extent, Cullen has to be praised because he took a big risk with the start. I mean, he took 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, that was kind of a risky, if you like, 3/4 line to start off with because between inexperience and guys just coming back with the first game. Yeah, he started back. Yeah. But guys between inexperience and then Mazur coming back from the World Cup, and Kershaw on the other wing indeed coming back from the World Cup. I mean, you're taking a big risk there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Against a good Scarlets backline.
And the Scarlets are well drilled, and they're just Their game against Glasgow a few weeks ago, where they were down to 13 men and they just kept plugging, and they're mean and evil and gritty and all those things that the Scarlets never were previously. It's like Michael Cheika has come to Leinster or something.
But they're not very nice or very good losers, are they? Their coach was a bit peeved that they got a lot of, didn't get much, in his perception, didn't get the rub of the green from the referee.
Yeah, and it's a Welsh ref too.
Yeah.
He's not a great ref, though, in fairness. I mean, refs get a lot of stick. Seems to get a lot of stick from Welsh people as well, generally.
I don't mind
even Welsh refs.
I don't mind a ref being good. I don't mind a ref being bad. All I want from a ref is that he's consistent. That in the same situation, in 10 occurrences of the same situation, he'll make the same decision 9 times. Right? The thing with Leighton Hodges and with Peter Fitzgibbon, for example, is
Make
that
it up as they go
they
along.
don't make that same decision. They could make any decision in the given the exact same circumstances. It's guys like that don't help the thing. Did he have a material effect on the game?
Maybe.
Did. Maybe he did. I mean, he didn't send off Jake Ball, as it turns out, in the after effect correctly, because Jake Ball didn't bring down
first line.
Wasn't deserving of the first yellow card. He got the first yellow card, but he wasn't deserving of it. He didn't send off Dominic Ryan because, I mean, to be sent, if the ultimate humiliation would be sent off for a slap that week. But I mean, it was a really stupid thing to do. I mean, really, really stupid to reach out and slap a fella in front of the touch judge when you've worked your arse off to turn over the ball on your own line.
Yeah.
I mean, that's see ya.
In fairness, though, it's not very often the refs, the touch judges at this level make any impact on the game. You
No.
know, they very rarely get involved. Like, he was unfortunate that.
Well, it's like I say, if you give them a chance, you know, you can't give them an
Actually,
opportunity.
there was a very good interview. It was on at the same time as our match against the Scarlets. Nigel Owens was on with O'Driscoll on off the ball, and it's very interesting to hear. And just the way that the comments that O'Driscoll made about Nigel Owens, and you can see why he's the best. Obviously, we know he's the best ref in the world, but just the respect that O'Driscoll and all the other players have for him, which you could see, it's just a demeanour, and it's the way that the players interact and the way the referee interacts with the player, as opposed to most of the other referees who are very dismissive and arrogant.
Yeah, well, Wayne Barnes being an example, or Leighton Hodges, in fact, can be a little bit like that, pernickety.
You can't talk to Leighton Hodges. I've seen games
No.
and you just can't talk to him. There's no point. There's no point in even saying anything to him.
Well, you know, there's a fine line. You don't want the referee being your best mate either. You know, Nigel Owens is firm. He doesn't listen.
I'm not talking about having a chummy chat. I'm talking about just even. I remember when Leinster played Claremont in the Aviva in the last time we played them, when Fergus McCladden got the late try to rescue the losing bonus point.
Yeah, 13.
In that match,
12-13.
Shome was playing, and he was widening his bind to allow Mike Ross to drop through. Now, we were getting absolutely boiled by Wayne Barnes for penalties off the scrum. And Leinster tried everything. Eventually, they ended up taking Mike Ross off after 50 minutes just to try and create a picture for the referee that we're trying to fix this. But the reason for that was because the captain had tried to approach Wayne Barnes and say, look, he's loosening his bind. He's letting the guy fall through. He's not taking the hit. But Barnes wasn't interested. So if you've got a referee who's actually disengaged from what's happening in the game, then the game becomes about his decisions and not about what the players do.
There are adult human beings in this world who think Wayne Barnes is a great ref and Nigel Owens is rubbish. I kid you not. So there you go.
Wayne Barnes started out.
We'll leave that one there.
Wayne Barnes started out well.
Oh,
And up to about, we'll say, 3 or 4 years ago,
has his
he
good
was
points.
pretty competent.
I remember he refereed the Leinster-Munster match down in Cork. And,
In Musser.
In Musgrave Park. And, you know, it was before we kind of won anything, and it was the season that we won the Pro 12. And, you know, he had to be firm because up to then Leinster were bullied by Munster
It
teams.
was a
down
horrific
there.
night as well.
30th of November 2007.
That's correct, yeah.
There you
Anyway, so, like, our new signing again, Triggs, he came on and he made another impact. He, in fact, caused a knock-on at the very end of the game.
go. Yeah,
Or forced a knock-on, not caused it.
I don't think I put him in ahead of Mike McCarthy for European game, but he's
Certainly have him on the bench.
bloody close. Oh, of course he'd be on the bench, but yeah, he's close, isn't he?
Yes,
yeah.
It's a nice position to be in to actually have 3 locks again.
Yeah,
You know,
that
But
are
like,
up to the
there's some
standard.
nice positives from that game. Like, again, and I'm sick of saying it, Ringrose is looking very good. coming
Yeah.
through.
I thought he was one of the ones who checked 2 boxes, and only for one reason. He got absolutely mulched in terms of decision making for their second try.
Yeah.
He bit in too early, and then they gave the guy a clear run. But A, he's not a winger anyway, and B, if he had more experience, it wouldn't happen. So, but it's just a point. I'm sure it's a point that's been made to him on Monday morning. So,
but like he's still very young, and Tracy came through as well.
Yeah.
He had a good game. He got man of the match, in fact.
The thing about Tracy is he's different from the other hookers we have. The other hookers we have we have Strauss, and we have Cronin, and they're great. Low to the ground, sort of ball carriers, very explosive, but they're not big lads. Tracy's a big lad, and sometimes you need
He's played prop at underage, I think.
Sometimes you need
fella.
a big, strong hooker. Sometimes it's the right way to
Well,
go.
I tell you, do you know who was having hooker now, or sub hooker?
Yeah.
Ashley Johnson. There's a big lad.
I have a feeling that that's more to get an extra forward onto the bench.
Absolutely.
Than there's anything else. I mean, I'd love to see him try and hook. So I'd say he'd be.
Might get a look at it now on Sunday.
Get their arms around him.
I'd say he'd be fairly shonky now, but because I watched Bath and Gloucester on Sunday.
Was he any good? Did he come on it?
He came on, but I don't recall him at that stage.
Can he throw?
At that stage, it was 14 men apiece, and there was very little time left. The game was. I tell you, it wouldn't be a game that would you'd use to sell the benefits of the Aviva Premiership. There was a lot of poor rugby. There was some very good. What's his name? Elliot Day in the centre.
He's good.
He's very good. And the first Scarlets Wasps try was created by him, by some lovely handling and footwork from him to put Christian Wade in. He played very well. He's a very nice footballer.
Well, Wade, we know about. We've seen him up close. They've got a couple of All Blacks in the back three as well, though.
Well, more importantly, they've got a Wallaby in the back three, and a very good one at that.
Who's that?
Mr. George Smith.
Oh, yeah, back row.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about
sorry,
the
back three. Sorry. Back row.
We'll come on to the.
We'll get there, yeah.
But like there was, I mentioned a couple of young kids that are coming through, but one thing that did disappoint me, and I think someone on Twitter mentioned it as well. Dave.
Irish Underage Rugby asks, any idea of the logic behind Luke McGrath not coming off the bench last weekend? At what point does he get trusted? It's a good point.
I know.
When he's proved he can be trusted.
No. I know why he didn't come off the bench.
Right.
It was a bet. Somebody had a bet that I bet you can't leave Boss on the pitch for 80 minutes. I bet you. And they went, no, we can. Wait till you see. I can't think of any other reason. Can you?
I don't know. I think the way it turned out, I mean, the game was a funny one. The last 5 minutes, you'd want Boss on the pitch for.
I was about to say,
if Boss had been on the bench, you would have brought him on, kind of thing.
Well, with a serious hat on, maybe he just didn't. The old Eddie O'Sullivan one, he didn't want to disrupt the balance of the game, which was fairly well in the balance. He would have probably brought McGrath on if you were chasing the game, or if you wanted to speed the game up.
Some people don't realise that Pro 12 games are actually competitive fixtures. No, but I'm serious. I mean, people say we should throw.
I know, but
throw this kid and that kid and the other kid.
18 fetuses.
It's 10 minutes from the end of the match, right? Your arse is barely in front, right? From a team that, if it goes in front of you, is 10 points clear at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Now, as it happens, I would have no problems trusting Luke McGrath, but I don't see him week in, week out. So I don't know. But sometimes you can understand these decisions. I'm not saying this is one of those cases, but sometimes you can.
Yeah. Well,
at some stage, Leinster are going to have to make the decision now whether they're going to stick with Luke McGrath or they're going to say that he's not going to make it. Because at this stage, Boss is really tailing off on his career.
I wouldn't see Boss as a live option now for us.
But
certainly not.
But like next week, if we move on to the Wasps game briefly, but like, are we going to pick Boss on the bench for next week?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't think so. The only possible thing you could say is that Redden and Luke McGrath are a little bit similar in terms of depending on what you want from a game. Like Boss.
But you had Sexton on at that. I mean, like, let's face it, Sexton's the starting out half, and now they're going to be looking to make the team. So you've got Sexton who's pulling the strings for the 15 or 20 minutes that he came on, and at that stage, when are you going to get? Are you going to say to Luke? Do you not think that Luke McGrath is competent enough to close out a game? I mean, he's going to have to. If he's going to be on the bench in a European Cup match, there's a good chance he's going to play a role during the competition. So
that's what I'm saying.
When is he ever going to be good enough?
That's what I'm saying. There are a whole variety of reasons why he should have and why he should not have been brought on. We don't know what they are. Personally, I would
Dave,
have
there
a
must be
problem with
something. There must be something that's in the back of Cullen's mind or Gervin Dempsey's mind to say this guy just doesn't have or isn't ready yet. I don't know.
I don't know what it is. I mean, there may be little holes in his game, but so many good things about his game. He's got a great break. His
decision making
his
seems
decision
really,
making
really
is
good.
good.
And when you're in that kind of position, like we were saying, with your backs to the wall and you're hanging on to a lead, it is your decision making, and as a scrum half,
And
it's
he's
how
great
you,
at bossing the
how you
forwards
move
around
people
as well.
around the pitch.
Yeah.
Is what's key, and those are actually his strengths. I personally wouldn't have had any problem with it, but I'm not picking the team. I don't see him week in, week out, so I don't know.
That's the problem with all analysis, really. We don't see them.
I mean, all you can do is
during
make
the
an
week.
educated guess. My educated guess might be that they're actually saving him for this weekend.
Maybe so.
They're saving a lot of other people anyway. There's a lot of, all the internationals pretty much who played the previous week who started anyway the previous week are now rested. So we'll see. We said it last week. We'll see whether all this resting pays off.
Boss could have been seen as being expendable. That they know that what they're going to get from Boss. They know he'll do a job for them, but they don't need him next week. He can have a rest.
Yeah.
So it could be as simple as that.
Could be.
Maybe so. I mean, moving on quickly, just discuss the other Pro 12 fixtures that took place. Connacht had a nice win against Treviso. Didn't get a bonus point out, but they did leapfrog and become
Got top of the table.
first time in there.
Yeah.
You said it last week, actually, Jason, that they had more or nearly as many
More
points as they had in
yeah.
this week. They've got more points than they had in a whole 4-year spell from 06 to
Wow.
10.
Really?
In the whole season, yeah. They had like 20, 24, 26, 26 in those, not in that order.
I think you're adding them all together.
No. But, sorry, I see what you mean. No, I didn't mean they had more than, they had more than
88.
any season. In any one season of 4 between 06 and 10. So that's pretty impressive
Yeah.
for Connacht. Munster and Edinburgh was a mad game. Like, Jesus. How Edinburgh couldn't score there. Like, that Edinburgh team needs
It's all down to Ian Keefe stealing that
shooting.
meter.
He
apparently.
needs they need shooting. Solomon, it seems to me that Solomon has come in a bit like, what's his name, the English coach, Lancaster. And changed the culture of the team and got them, put a bit more steel in them, but he's no ideas. He doesn't know what the hell is going on. From my observation, he just doesn't
I
seem
think
to.
you speak to any Ulster
I
fan,
think-
they
I
probably
think-
said the same
I think
thing.
the Edinburgh team are exactly like his Ulster team.
Yeah.
Right? Remember his Ulster team
They're
couldn't.
clueless.
They were clueless. They were clueless away from home, but very, very hard to beat at home. So that's actually a very good result for Munster. But beyond that, I mean, I don't think he's brought them on, and he's got better
he's hit-
players playing better, or he's got players playing more professionally. But I don't.
He's brought them onto a level, changed their culture, made them a bit tougher, but
But that's it.
they've gone backwards in other areas, and they're not. That was their issue. They're seen as well, especially now with Glasgow being so strong and being the main team in Scotland, the way it used to be Edinburgh up until about 6 years ago.
Probably less. They got to the semi-final. Remember they were.
That's true. But well, I suppose they were our bogey team until 6 years ago when we.
They were
we
the
put
elephant's
them away.
graveyard, as he
Yeah,
once.
yeah.
Yeah, but they would be seen as the kind of the fancy Dans or the whereas Glasgow are the tough warriors.
Yeah.
But now Edinburgh have the bit of steel, and they actually beat Glasgow, I think, in the 1812 Cup or whatever it's called, the 1872 Cup last for the first time in a good while at Christmas. So, but they've nothing else.
They've nothing else. I mean,
it's like he's hit a buffer. Like he's done a certain amount with them, and then he's hit a buffer, and he can't bring them any further. So
Glasgow are genuine contenders to win the Pro 12.
absolutely,
Glasgow could well get a quarter-final or even a semi-final in Europe. Maybe certainly a quarter-final, right? Depending on results and etc. Right? Edinburgh might qualify for Europe, and that's the difference.
I don't
between
think they
the-
will.
But that's the difference I'm talking about in terms of the ambition between the two teams.
I think Edinburgh are going to slide. Ospreys are going to come on. But like, there's already 6 teams ahead of Edinburgh in 7th now. I can't see them getting back.
There's 4 Irish teams in top 5.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It'll be interesting to see now. We're starting to see how,
Especially
things-
especially when all of our internationals are
Well, that's-
drawn from Ireland, whereas
Yeah.
say in Wales, there's a lot of them, say
playing for Bath.
well, a lot of them are playing in England, and a few in France. Whereas, so when they took 31 or whatever players out of the system, they're not taking it out.
It'll be interesting to see now that, because everybody always thought, if the Irish teams didn't have their internationals for an extended period, what would happen? Well, the answer is not very much. It turns out that the strength in depth is there. It'll be interesting to see what happens to the league now that everyone's back to full strength, because there are teams who made a bit of hay
Notably Connacht.
Connacht, but to a certain extent as well.
Scarlets.
And it'll be interesting to see how the whole thing unwinds.
Yeah.
It's almost like a staggered start on a racing track,
Exactly.
and it takes you a lap or two before the stagger unwinds. So we're beginning to get the unwinding now. So it'll be interesting to see how it. I don't think it'll be January or February till we see a really kind of get a real sense of how the table is.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you're into that crucial Six Nations period where
But
it's advantage Connacht again.
One rumour that's sort of going around at the moment is Henshaw's potential move from Connacht. I mean, is that a good thing, bad thing?
The way I would express it is, I would hope to see a strong enough Connacht team that would get into the Champions Cup and that he could stay there and prosper. It'd be great for Connacht and great for, Having said that, if he's going somewhere, I want him in Leinster. I would I would have mixed feelings about him coming to Leinster. Obviously, he's a brilliant player. I'd love him there. We have a problem in the centres. It'd be great as a Leinster fan, but it'd also be great to see him stay in Connacht and bring them on.
I think how it'll be looked at is because we all know that he was kind of supposed to move a year ago, and it was stopped. I think that it was stopped because they thought Connacht were going to get into Europe.
Yeah.
What David Nisfora, Joe Schmidt, what probably the player himself wants is to be playing Champions Cup rugby. If wherever he can get regular Champions Cup rugby is the best place for him and for Ireland. That's now the actual venue is irrelevant. Whether it's Ravenhill,
well, it is relevant though.
He's been rested this weekend because they don't want to subject him to 12,000 round trip to Outer Mongolia.
Why would they?
Whereas he could be playing in the RDS or Thomond Park in a European Cup game if he had moved.
Yeah, but anyway, we won't go too far into that one.
No.
If he's going anywhere, I hope it's Leinster, but I hope he's not going anywhere.
Well, we'll see anyway. So anyway, moving forward towards the first rounds of the Champions Cup, we take on Wasps in the RDS.
A familiar foe at this stage.
It is. I mean, we've played
familiar
them
first round foe as well.
Yeah, we've played them 3 times in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
We won, but not very well last year, 25-20.
We started off very, very poorly.
Did, yeah.
In the middle of an injury crisis, in fairness.
It has to be said, yeah. We were absolutely mullocked for injuries.
We had Michael Bent at tight head for those 2 games, the one down in Cast as
Madigan
well.
a fullback.
Madigan a fullback. We were blown apart with injuries at that time. So I was happy to get over the line, 25-20.
A guy who's not likely, who isn't even in the European squad this year, was our hat-trick hero against Wasps, if you recall. Dara Fanning.
Oh yeah, of course he was.
He's not even in the European squad this year.
I think he's played in 1 game this year.
It's a very different. It's a very different.
Wasps
view.
are very different too. Though.
Yeah,
I was just talking about their back 3, like they've 2 All Blacks and Christian Wade. That's a serious back 3. Piatau I haven't seen him.
He's a good player.
Play for them yet.
Before he goes over to Ulster.
And you've the other lad, Frank Halai or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Who's no slouch, and he's a big lad as well. That's their back 3. The back 5 of their pack is fairly kick-ass as well. Your mate George Smith.
It is. I mean, George Smith's a wonderful player.
Hughes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but he's
magnificent.
35 now.
He's
35. I mean,
a 35-year-old him though.
How many times have we come up against a team with James Haskell in it? And it's all about the Haskell, and it's all about how good he is and what he's going to do and whatever. I mean, and then you look at him on the pitch and you go, what?
James who?
I mean, James Haskell signifies a particular. I mean, he's a good player.
He can, when he's playing well, he can be very good.
But he only ever plays well in certain limited circumstances, and that's the thing
Let's
about him.
hope that's not
He
the
signifies,
circumstances of Sunday.
for me, he's the absolute embodiment of Martin Johnson's England team. Whatever way you want to read into that, but for me, that he always seems to be of that era and of that type. Nathan Hughes is a very good player. He's a big lad. But I have a feeling if we run them lads around that they'd be blown out their ass after 40 minutes, you know.
And they're 2, Bradley Davies and Launchbury. They're 2 kick-ass locks as well. Like
they're very good players,
you know, that's where their strength is. They've lost Goppert at 10,
and they'll be without Geraldini as well.
and will they definitely be
Oh
without him?
God, yeah.
Well, I know that's your opinion, and I'd probably agree with you. But is it? It's not definite yet.
It hasn't been announced as of yet. But
Has he been cited even? Has he
It,
definitely
well,
been
it's
cited?
a red
yeah?
card, so it's an automatic cited.
Also
He doesn't have to be
automatic.
cited. It's an automatic cited for a straight red.
Okay.
And it was the punchiest of punches. I mean, he couldn't have made it more obvious if he'd held up a placard saying, "I'm about to punch this lad." I mean, it was. I mean, he's not playing.
Okay, well then they have a massive problem. So front row and half back is where they have a massive problem.
Well, if
And
they sign Goppert as their
yeah,
you
Yeah.
know,
Rhubarb Jackson is not going to
Yeah.
set anywhere on fire. If he's up against Johnny Sexton,
They do have a very good scrum half. He's a player
But-
who's massively underrated. Is Simpson, Joe Simpson.
Hmm.
He's a real classic
alright.
English nuggety scrum half.
Yeah.
You know, he's. I think he's a very good player.
he's quick too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's lightning
they've
quick.
got a lot of pace in
Yeah.
their outside back.
Well,
as
that's the one thing that worries me is their back three, the speed of their back three, and the muscle of their back five. Outside of that, I think we'll take him to
When we
take him
played
to church.
in the Amlin quarter final over there, both their wingers had clocked measured times faster than the Irish 100 metres record.
Really?
Yeah,
Jesus. So not only were they faster than our wingers, they were faster than
They're
anyone
faster
in
than
our
the
country.
fastest Irishman of all time. So
That's pretty good.
But they've got off to a sort of a patchy start in the 4 matches of the league. They've won their
Yeah.
2 home and they've lost their 2 away. So I don't know whether that is any.
That's
bearing
actually
on it.
another. Sorry for cutting across you. That's actually another good point.
why is he apologising for
Going-
doing what he always
No,
does?
anyway. The two English teams are a little bit. They're not quite up to speed yet because of the way the World Cup affected the Premiership. So we have that extra 3 games on them. I know we didn't have other internationals and all that, but just as a team, we've got that bit more of a settled thing than they have. They're still kind of, after 4 games, you're still have those few
Well, our
little.
guys have played in a World Cup. Not all of them, but a lot of them have. Like, since,
Mm-hmm.
your spine through the team have all played. Like whether it's Sexton or Heaslip, they've all started in the World Cup. So they've got 4 or 5 games under their belt, plus
Yeah.
a couple of appearances for Leinster since they've been reintegrated back in. Where Wasps have only had 4 games. That's it. Even if they weren't away, if a guy hadn't been away with England or at the World Cup.
Well, also any guy who's at the World Cup is at a peak of fitness,
Mhm.
so they're in super shape.
Yeah.
Anybody and that's a lot of guys in our case, who will be in very good shape. So we'll see. I certainly wouldn't be getting too cocky about it.
I'm not cocky, but I'm just. People often get quite afraid of English teams because of the way that I presume that.
I think that mystique has kind of gone a bit.
No, I think it has. I think what I'm saying is people often, because of the way that the league is hyped,
Attritional.
but then you see them up close and you realise actually they're nothing they're nothing any different from our guys.
I think sort of up to maybe say pre us winning the Heineken Cup, maybe even Munster winning the second one, that kind of era.
Mm-hmm.
Up to that point, like Ron O'Gara had a quote when they were playing Leicester back in 05.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And he said something like, I don't think that the English players are any
Any
better.
better, yeah.
Whereas maybe, subconsciously we might have felt that they were because we saw them on telly more often and Sky was hyping them up, as you said, Dave. Now,
Plus they were winning.
we play them and we beat English teams more often than we lose to them, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Irish teams anyway do.
Yes, they do. In terms of, I can't remember the exact figures, but somebody did a study on it not that long ago, a year or 2 ago. And in terms of teams, Irish teams are most successful against, it's Italian first and English second.
Wow,
So
it's quite interesting. We've 2 English teams in our pool. That must be a good thing then.
Yeah.
the only thing is, we have 2 English teams. Wasp are what we talked about. Wasp, Bath have the potential to be a very good team if they get their shit sorted out.
Yeah, but we're going to play them away very early, so that's a good thing. If they do get their shit together by Christmas, we've got them in the RDS
And
at
that'll be
least.
the first time I'll use this joke, and it won't be the last. I second that emotion. Mr. Denton has joined Bath, the David Sylvain of rugby.
Yeah.
Claire Balding, I'd prefer, but anyway, since he's had his haircut, he doesn't look so much like Claire Balding, but
He still looks like David Sylvain though.
a little bit.
Stick a Japanese guitarist by him, you think you're...
Fair enough.
But you wonder how much trauma Bath are going through after Slam and Sam returns back to the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
I'd say there's I'd say there's discontent in that team. I'd say Mike Ford is a pain in his arse as well, to be honest.
Well, they
with
denied it right up to the hill.
Ford came out today and he was pretty. He wasn't very impressed with Mr. Burgess. He said he didn't have the stomach for it. Was the phrase he used,
well, Burgess
which is
came
a
out-
pretty
Burgess came out and
brutal phrase to use.
Burgess came out and gave an interview to the Daily Mail as well.
I saw that.
And
Yeah, I read
he
it.
stuck the knife in a little bit as well.
Well, I'd say Sam Burgess didn't have the stomach for it if I knew he was 12,000 miles away as well.
But apparently he was clear. He was told to leave on the Thursday. He wanted to come in on Friday to say goodbye to the fellas. He was told not to.
Yeah.
Apparently, a decision that was taken by the captain in discussion with the rest of the team, and to come in on Monday
But then
instead.
that strikes you as Burgess led them up the garden path, and while he was obviously negotiating in the background with
The Rabbitohs.
with Rabbitohs in Sydney, that he was saying to Bath, "No, I'm staying. I'm committed to you boys."
Well, that's what Ford again said, something similar to that. He said, right up until the final conversation, he didn't know what he was going to, or he as in Ford, didn't know what decision he, as in Burgess, was going to make.
Yeah.
So it's an unfortunate situation. It's unfortunate for Bath, which is apart from its owner, it's a club we all like. We've all been over there. We all like Bath. We like Bath fans, but they've gone down this road. They shook hands with the devil, so they can't be too annoyed if they end up with Chartley footprints all over their foreheads.
Well, they take on Toulon, so I'm kind of questioning.
Battle of the Mercenaries.
Yeah, but I'm kind of questioning. Do I want Bath to win this one, or do I want Toulon to win it? I can't see them beating Toulon in Toulon, but then Toulon mightn't have all their complement of players.
A win in Toulon for Bath would. You see, it's hard to know with Toulon because they do have some stout-hearted chaps.
Mananu going to be back?
Yeah. The tradition is if French teams lose a game at home, they lose interest.
Yes.
I don't think Toulon are that kind of a team. Yeah,
No.
that's what.
There'll be no
But
World Cup
It would
players.
certainly put a doubt in their minds, and it would, if they were to lose a game at home and then lose a further one away, might mean that they lose a certain amount of interest. You don't know.
Yeah. Well, they had a game against Montpellier at the weekend, and Quake
Saw
Cooper
that,
played
actually,
for them. A fantastic little dink through, totally no luck. But then he did a kind of an Ian Madigan on it and had mixed the brilliance with the.
He always does, though,
pull your
fairness.
hair out. And he threw a simple kind of
Intercept.
Hollywood pass, and
I wonder how long they'll bear patience with them, because to a certain extent, Toulon have based their success on fairly traditional rugby with with guys who are capable of playing a fairly
Freddie
traditional game.
Michalak, do you not think a little bit sort of?
Well, I think Freddie Michalak was fine once he had Matt Guiteau telling him what to do with every time he touched the ball,
But you
and
see-
Johnny Wilkinson on the pitch yelling at him.
But they were used to for 5 seasons of Johnny Wilkinson, where it was Mr. Reliability. He mightn't be, he mightn't run it from his own line, and but he's going to make the right decision 99% of the time.
And also, it's like Ian Humphreys. You got to hide him in defence when you're not, when you don't have the ball. You got to stick him out in the wing or wherever.
They've enough big galas in that team.
Well, that's
that
true.
they can-
You don't have to
It's
worry
funny.
so
Somebody was talking about the difference between Leinster and other teams with Johnny Sexton there. He reckoned that Leinster had to do what other teams did and hide Johnny Sexton in defence, but not because he couldn't tackle, because he would tackle. That they had to get
Normally
him.
with his head, though.
Well,
That they had
look,
to protect the guy.
That's a very important point. And if you look at Ian Madigan playing for Ireland there in the France match, he was running everywhere when he was running into contact. He was coming out with the ball in different directions. You can't, as a 10, there's got to be an element of protecting yourself.
Absolutely. And he did
Raj was a master of it.
and John, he did it again last week for Leinster. Like he tried to run, and I love seeing that in a player, and I'd hate to see it coached
Absolutely.
out of him, but there's times to run. There's no one to hold him, no one to fold him, and he ran into contact and gets turned over.
Yeah, that's the worst thing you can do as a 10. I mean, you're better off hiding, and then you're there to be first
But
receiver.
just take the
you know what I
sensible
mean?
option and kick it downtown.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's lovely to have. Conor Pomey had a great break on him. He was a man to run it from behind his try line, but you don't need that in your 10 every day of the week. You need the guy to be able to control the game, which he can't do at the bottom of a ruck, even if he doesn't lose the ball.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like Joe Smith always used to say, if you're in the ruck, you're out of the game.
So we have another Anglo-French game. Saracens play Toulouse. Toulouse have a new coach. Guy Noves has gone to the French national team after, I don't know, 55 years.
22 or 3 anyway.
Yeah, he is formally now in charge of the French team, which nobody was even sure would happen. But Toulouse have been playing some cracking rugby this year,
Yeah.
without him.
6 from
New
8.
coach syndrome.
Yeah.
6
They've
from
got
8 this season.
Playing some brilliant stuff. So
But Sarries are 4 from 4 in their league.
Yeah, and
playing very different kind of rugby now.
Oh, yes.
they're not over the salary cap at all.
No, nobody
Barely.
is.
Not.
Nobody ever was
Not
at
even
all.
slightly.
But they have the highest paid lady who's working in the tea shop.
Tea room, yeah.
I thought the statement from Bath was the most beautiful piece of the thick of it misdirection ever. Bath released a statement adamantly denying that they breached the salary cap in season 2014-2015.
Which was
The
not
investigation
the one
was
under
in season 2013-2014. It was just a masterpiece of misdirection. But yeah, so Saracens against Toulouse.
Saracens against Toulouse probably be an interesting game. It'll definitely show you who's on top. I fancy Toulouse again. Toulouse knocked them over, if you remember, in rained on their parade in Wembley a few years ago. Your man, Fat Boy, what's his name? Julien Galland.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yes,
took him to church as well, and
hasn't been seen since.
hasn't been seen since. He's busy demolishing a massive plate of ice cream or eating pizza somewhere. But yeah, I think I fancy Toulouse for that one, definitely.
Yeah, I mean.
And obviously I'm up for Toulouse as well because they're actual rugby team, and nobody likes Saracens. Even their mothers apparently don't like them. So.
Anyway, swinging back to our game against Wasps, we've got a couple of questions from Twitter.
Yeah, we have from that darn Twitter machine. Dara asks, first of all, he congratulates us on our 200th episode, and he asks, what's the ideal backline for Leinster going into these Heineken Cup games?
Oh, there's the question.
The ideal backline is Dan Carter, Matt Anu, Conrad Smith.
There's a question. We've been saying it all along. Where we had a 10, 12, 13 problem last year. We've solved 10. We've still got a 12, 13 problem. Who is going to play? I mean,
if we say for Wasps, I think we're all agreed that Rob Kearney's going to be out. I think it's official. Like, are Ben and Luke going to be available?
there's mutterings that officially Theo is fine, but there's mutterings that he's not, and that he's got some other injury besides the. Officially, he tweaked a glute or something like that. But
what about Luke?
Luke is supposed to be okay, as far as I know.
Because I mean, Luke is the guy who covers for. He fills in.
He must have such a pain because he wants. I'm sure he wants to bet down one position instead of Luke, you will cover 12 or 13 or 14.
Speaking of Twitter, his Twitter handle is Luke 11 or Luke Fitz 11 or whatever. So you know.
Which he could have set
that's where he wanted. Well, he could have set that up.
Fifth year.
And he was in fifth year, but Twitter didn't exist when he was in fifth year.
Well, maybe sixth year then.
But yeah, you would play him at 11 if all things were equal. But you noticed that Leo started him before he got injured in Treviso. He started him at 12. So was that a little bit of an experiment to see?
I would say if those three, if both of them are available, it'll be 12 to 13. Fitzgerald and Theo. If Theo's not available, it'll be somebody at 12 and Fitz.
Madigan possibly.
Madigan could be most likely to be Madigan. Could also be McFadden.
It could be Reid. Like
Reid's
played practically
well.
every game as well.
He's a guy that
defensively though, in
the coaches like him though. You know,
he's got some great. He's lovely offloads.
Defensively, he's weak, mate. He ain't in. He's not going to be considered a professional rugby player if he can't defend. Like seriously, they're not going to give somebody.
I refer you back to Ian Humphreys and Quade Cooper.
But they're out halves. They're not centres.
So was he originally.
If you can't tackle as a centre, then
I
agree.
I think he's got. I think he has to lay a marker down at some stage. Whether it's going to be on Sunday or not, I don't know. But at some stage, Noel Reid is going to have to absolutely flatten a few guys in the course of one match and prove that he's a defender. Otherwise, is he a whole lot of use to us? I don't know. Because defensively, I would have him at third on the list. If we were looking at a situation where we had to pick one from Madigan, McFadden and him,
I wouldn't put McFadden at 12 either. It's for me. It's Fitzgerald, Reid, and Madigan.
Well, we're
and
assuming that Tio is out and Fitzgerald is playing 13. That's what I'm basing this.
Well, then it's Reid or Madigan, and for a defence alone, I'd have Madigan.
Yeah, same here.
You know,
if everyone was fit, currently, if every person was fit, who would you pick?
But for the entire team,
at 12,
say from
Luke and
we
Tio.
kind of know our 9 and 10,
Yeah.
so let's go for 11 through 15.
Luke and Tio, and then you've a plethora of wings,
Well,
really.
you
You
can
know,
only pick one.
Fergie,
no, but I'm
Fergie
saying-
Nisa and Rob at fullback if everyone was fit.
exactly. I'm
Oh,
saying
not Fergie Nisa, sorry, David Nisa.
Dave, Isa, and Rob will be my
Yeah.
back three if everyone's fit, because you want your best players on the field. You get Luke in at 12.
Mhm.
However, there's scenarios I could see Luke played at 11 as well. So, you know.
But Luke has looked good at 12 this year, and he got a couple of cameos with Ireland. He looked pretty good there, you know. So,
He was our best player against the
Yeah.
Argies.
You're leaving out fellas as well. You're leaving out. I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm just saying the wings are not. You can stick McFadden on the wing. You could stick Kirshner on the wing. You could stick. There's quite a few people you could do. You can even stick Ringrose on the wing, which seems to be his spot at the moment.
there's a lot of guys you could use, but in terms of
The 12 and 13 are the crucial.
in terms of if everyone was fit, I think we both agree on all three of us would agree on the thing we named earlier.
Yeah.
It becomes slightly more difficult for Saturday if, as the only confirmed injury we know of, is Rob is out. Obviously, I presume Issa goes to 15.
Yep.
And then Kirshner or McFadden come in on the wing, or Ringrose, but one of those was in the wing. If you have other injuries, then it becomes a bit more shaky. I don't see Madigan playing a fullback, as somebody said to me today in the.
We don't
in the
need him
shop.
to. We've got Kirshner, who is a fullback. We've got Issa, who is a fullback, and we've got Rob Kearney, who is a fullback. And if all of them are crocked, we've got Dave Kearney, who can play fullback ahead of Ian Madigan. So
But it's the old thing, isn't it? I mean, there was a school of thought that was prevalent, certainly more in the 70s and 80s, perhaps, than it is now, that your back three should be three full backs. You know, so.
We had another question from Twitter, Dave.
We had another question for Twitter. It's more of a general question about Europe. With European rugby back this weekend, how long until some form of a European league replaces the Pro 12 and other competitions?
that's an interesting
It's
one.
an interesting question, and I would have said, if you'd asked me that question before the whole war broke out between the Celts and the Brits and the internecine Celtic thing and Sky and BT, I would have said not very long, because the European Cup was such a dominant competition, certainly from our perspective, that we would have moved to. But it's changed a lot. I mean, do you remember when in the build up the first week of a Heineken Cup weekend? It was nothing but Heineken Cup rugby. That was all anyone was thinking of.
Yeah.
It seems to, maybe it's because it's on two channels.
I think it's the World Cup, though, Dave.
And but I was thinking we made this exact. We were asked a similar question last year at the same point, and we said a similar thing, that it seems to have, because it's on two channels and the publicity is split, and you don't have Sky or one channel, whether it's Sky or BT, hammering it all the time. The effect seems to have dissipated, and it doesn't seem to be the be all and end all that it was.
Well, I think there are a lot of people in England who would love to have a British and Irish league,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and nearly everybody in Wales would love to have a British and Irish league. Unfortunately, the clout is not there in Wales. Unfortunately, from their perspective, personally, I wouldn't trust the PRL because they'd be the ones running the show. Really, who else is going to run the show?
Well,
They're going to have the bulk of the
It's going
teams.
to be, if it's going to be anything, it'll probably be a B&I league.
Oh, I would
That's-
agree. I would
that's-
agree.
The
that's
French
what's
won't
gonna
give up
happen.
top
No.
14.
Forget it.
And the French have always been more eastward looking, in terms of, they've always looked, because of various expulsions and the Anglo-dominant blah, 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 they've always looked east in terms of their transnational rugby. I would say a British and Irish league could be a runner.
And you'll find Treviso and Zebre will be in the Pro D2.
Yeah. The
That's-
question
that will
is,
break down.
how palatable would the requirements that would be needed for a British and Irish league in terms of maintaining
But what would-
multi-jurisdictional interest.
But Dave, what would happen in a bizarre sequence of events over 2 seasons if, let's say, Leinster had a disaster season and were relegated from the first division, presumably there's 2 divisions, were relegated from Division 1 to Division 2, and then had another disaster season, then from where do they go? Is there relegation in this? What happens to the
Ring fenced.
Yeah, but that's going to be a hard sell in England, surely. To like they pump it and pump it and pump it that they that the virtue of the league is there's this promotion and relegation.
They mention it, but they don't like to actually do it because
They use it on for their own
yeah,
purposes.
virtually every club in the Premiership would want to ring fence the Premiership.
But that's because they're there.
They're just waiting for Bristol to come up. Once Bristol comes up, you'll see the drop shots.
Drawbridge will go up after them.
It's Bristol that's the key player.
There are very few clubs in the Premiership, if any, who don't want ring fencing. Bath and Saracen are screaming for it. They want to run their own, like that's their whole gig. They want to run their own show, and they don't want anybody else interfering with them. There's all this crap now about them wanting to take
But that's
professional rugby.
Turkey's
in
voting for Christmas when you're in the top tier. But it's the majority that are behind, that are on the base of the pyramid, that want their shot at it.
Well, the other thing about it is with their TV deal at the moment with BT, which I think was a 4-year deal, so presumably there's at least 2.5 years more of that to run or whatever. I don't think anybody is going to even think about it until that's up, because if you look at the money they'd have to produce for a British and Irish league, it's not the right time in the cycle either. It's it could be after the next World Cup that you'd even countenance it happen. I would rather, to be honest, that the Pro 12 got stronger in that period and that we ended up with a good strong Pro 12 challenging the British League rather than the English League.
Something has to give in the administration of the Pro 12, because it's marketed so poorly. Like I made the point a couple of weeks ago about Munster's fixture with Ulster on a Friday night. I know I totally take that the bronze place playoff match was on that night, and they were obviously restricted to the time, but still there was a shocking crowd at what should be the second biggest fixture in Munster's calendar. You know,
in the Pro 12.
in the Pro 12 calendar.
Yeah, well, look, I agree, and there's an awful lot to be done in the Pro 12. There's referees, there's and it's by its nature, it's a complicated product because it's coming from 4 countries, 3 of which are union owned and run, and the other one isn't. So you've got that balancing act. You've got the various rugby cultures in all of those places. You've got the geographic distance. You've got there are a lot of issues that the other 2 leagues don't have. So it's never, and it doesn't have the tradition.
We should also remember, for
everyone.
everyone who criticises the Pro 12, I mean, at least with the Pro 12, the best team wins, or has a chance of winning. The Aviva Premiership is cheats, and fellow travellers are cheats. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get any argument from me on that one.
I mean, they breached the salary cap, and in their own self-interest, in the case of there before the grace of God go us, they decided to cover it up, right? That's not a league. The Russians wouldn't organise that. I mean, Silvio Berlusconi looks at that and goes, "You bunch of guys are shameful fucks." I mean, it's so. I mean, we might be badly marketed, but at least we're honest.
So which of the lads had the bunga bunga parties? So I want to know. Can we go when we're in Bath?
The Playboy Mansion at Bath.
They do have that big mansion on the hill.
They do.
Yeah, I don't know what they do in there.
The Royal Crescent. Yeah. We'll have a few parties in there. Let's see. That's the next
But
week.
that's the thing. I mean, we can all. It's all very. We do have to be harsh about our own league because it's the only league we can really affect in terms of our own thing. But let's not lose sight of the fact that in terms of actual sport, ours is a proper league. Theirs is a sinecure for rich playthings.
Well, I don't know. A lot of people would argue that, for example, the Welsh are hamstrung by the fact that they're at conflict with their own union, whereas we're being financed to a much higher degree. So you could say that.
But the league is only going to get.
These are internal decisions that they've taken themselves.
Of course.
Now, whether they like them now, they were the decisions that they made about the best way to run their game.
Of course. I'm not disputing that.
And they stick. And in fairness to the Welsh, they might hate the salary cap, and they might think it's wrong, and they might think the Irish have better or wrong, but they stick to their own rules, which the English didn't.
That's true. But
They're trying to sell their, like say, Dragon selling their best player for 150 grand. Like that's, all of the good
Well,
players.
Edinburgh selling Dave Denton.
Exactly, all of the good players from the league are leaving. The only ones that we're keeping them because they've got, like say, Robbie Henshaw's up for a central contract. they'll probably keep him.
Well, now the Welsh, in fairness to them, are making strides in that. I mean, they've 3 big targets now in Davies, Halfpenny, and who's the other one? There's 3 anyway, and then there's a lot of guys who are kind of past it. The Mike Phillipses.
Well, look at Scotland.
Jason Roberts.
But look at Scotland.
Jamie Roberts is on.
Anyone in Scotland who has any ambition goes. You know, like you know.
I think that's a function of the problems that were in the Scottish game, and are still. I mean, we're still seeing the echoes. You don't see too many really good Edinburgh players, or sorry, Glasgow players leaving, because their ambitions can be best sated within. Because Glasgow are a better team than many of the teams that they'd be likely to go to. So you're certainly seeing an outflow from Edinburgh. But if Edinburgh got good, you might see an influx.
Even going back, say, 5 or 6 years ago, Dan Parks left to go and play in Cardiff. Then obviously he came to Connacht when he was at the end of his career. But like he left, he was the Scottish out half. Went and played. Admittedly still in the Pro 12, but moved clubs. You know, probably the most exciting winger, DTH. Now I know he's not Scottish, but he did leave a Scottish club. Again, moved internally within the Pro 12.
But then on the other hand, you look at what's happened in Glasgow since then. Stuart Hogg has stayed. Johnny Gray has stayed. Their back rows have stayed. Grant has stayed. All their midfield has stayed. I mean, Glasgow are the exciting club in Scotland, and they're keeping their players. If Edinburgh were better, they'd be keeping their players.
But if you were, I agree.
Players want to win. Players want to win, and they go wherever they have the best chance to do so.
But like if you're a player with some ambition, if you're thinking, I'm running out here in front in a 67,000 seater stadium in front of 2,500 people, like it must be soul destroying.
But I think that's a bad. I agree with you there. I think Edinburgh as a.
I think we've been around that one a few times.
We've done this lap a couple of times. I mean, about stupid decision, playing ground, ridiculous size, whatever. Glasgow have got it right, but Glasgow they're almost the answer to every question in a way, because they moved to a ground that was the right size for them. They're actually really chomping at or bursting at the seams in terms of numbers. They've had a bit of success. They play lovely rugby. They're well coached. They're keeping their players. He's trained the squad now. He wouldn't have wanted to lose DTH, certainly not.
But he got
But he got your man in instead, which is a huge caveat. What's his name, Jason? They kept the Nakawara. They got rid of Matawalu. I think both excellent decisions.
Yeah,
you know, so I think that they're a club that are doing, like I said, like they're doing the opposite of that. Yeah. They're the anti-Edinburgh, and Glasgow people would always be happy to be described as the anti-Edinburgh.
Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.